Hey friends, Diana here from Garden Love. I can't believe that as soon as I push play, the sun came out. Today I want to make this video to point out 4 things you guys need to do right now while we're in the middle of spring before the full bloom of flowers and all the growth starts coming out, so you guys can be ready for this new growing season. One of the things I want you to pay very close attention to all your fruit trees and to look for is suckers. It's very important that you're familiar with suckers because you'll be able to recognize them as soon as you see them. And I'm about to show you what they look like. This is my apricot tree. It's been giving me tons and tons of fruit over the last few years because I have done a couple steps to ensure the bountiful of this tree and the growth of flowers and maintaining those flowers to turn into fruit. And one of the things that I've done is cutting off the suckers that are taking energy from my fruit tree. What I noticed this year that these suckers, there's a lot of suckers here, and believe it or not, these leaves started coming out way before the leaves on this tree, which means that these suckers have already taken a lot of energy from this tree, and I should have done this sooner. So if you guys can do this even before spring or the beginning of spring, the sooner the better. As soon as you see them, go and cut them off, because this is only going to take energy from your tree, and that's what we're going to do today. And I'm going to point out a few different ways that you'll discover suckers. These suckers are actually coming from below the tree. Usually they come from the trunk, but I'm going to show you. Let me get you closer. All right, let me show you what I'm talking about. You guys see this? They're actually coming from below the tree, not from the trunk. It's very common that most suckers come from the trunk, but these suckers are coming from below the tree. You can tell that I've cut other suckers before, and I'm actually going to need to get bigger pruners in this, but let me cut a little one so you guys can see. All you need to do is cut them so they can stop taking energy from the tree. And yeah, I'm gonna need something bigger, but this is very important. I'm about to show you guys an example of a tree that got taken over by a sucker, and it did not give me fruit for years. All right, I want you guys to look at this tree. This tree was here when I purchased this property, but it wasn't giving me any fruit. It wasn't really flowering. It was actually really bare. It's finally starting to get full of flowers, and I didn't know what was wrong when I moved in here. I didn't know why wasn't it doing what it was supposed to be doing. I added mulch, I fertilized it, I gave it deep watering, and even though I did all of that, it still wasn't doing what it needed to be done, what a tree would normally do. But then I noticed there was actually 2 big trunks coming out from the bottom of this tree, and I really quickly, through the process of elimination, realized that a sucker years and years ago, before we moved into this property, had taken over the tree. So it was struggling to continue to produce the foliage. It was struggling to maintain any of the flowers. It was struggling to even bear any fruit. And I made a very hard decision. I'll show you guys what this looks like down here. The trunk, it was very hard to tell where it was grafted, and it was very hard to tell which one was the grafted and which one was the sucker. So I just made a risky decision, and sure enough, I took the right one. I'm going to show you guys. You're going to be able to see right here where I took the sucker. They were the same size when I took it off. This was about a year ago, and now that I've taken it off, obviously this one has grown more, and it is thriving. It's finally getting flowers. I actually have some fruit here. I'm gonna bring you guys closer so you guys can see. Let me show you guys. I don't know if you guys can see, there's actual fruit. I didn't even know what kind of fruit was on this tree, and it turns out that it is a Eureka lemon. I can tell by the shape of the lemon, the skin, and the taste. I'm familiar with the Eureka lemon taste. So I want this to be a lesson to you guys on how it can seriously affect the growth of your tree if you allow the suckers to take over. Eventually, this sucker was going to kill the part that was grafted, And we want to avoid that because you purchase this book or you plant, I'm sorry, you purchase this tree and you want to grow what you purchased. Usually the sucker is coming from the rootstock, and the rootstock is probably something not as tasty, a random fruit that you probably won't be happy with, and you would be very disappointed. So if you're wondering what's wrong with my tree, why isn't it producing, and you're like, it looks lush and it's big, it has lots of branching, take a look at where the graft is and take a look of what's growing below it or around it. And most of the time, it's a sucker. Here's a perfect example of suckers. This is my little kumquat. You can tell that this is where the graft line is. Let me see. It's not doing a good job at focusing there. That's the graft line, okay? Nothing else, no other signs of graft, but look at this. You guys see those little suckers? Remove those. Those are not part of kumquat. Those are part of the rootstock, okay? Remove those. Anything above this graft line, you can allow to grow. And go check all of your fruit trees, because those little branches can be deceiving. You can think that, oh my God, my tree is growing more branches. You're so excited, but really they're suckers. You don't want those. Here's another example of how this peach tree has tons of suckers coming out, and these have to go. The second thing I want you guys to do right now in spring, before the heat comes and everything starts to grow, is to add mulch. You're gonna wanna add mulch to all of your fruit trees, all of your pots, anything that's in a container, especially if it's in a container, anything that's growing in the ground, basically anything you're growing, you're gonna wanna add mulch, because this is going to help keep the moisture in the top soil, which fruit trees have very, very small feeder roots in the very first layer of the soil, and you don't want that soil to dry up. You're gonna wanna add mulch, so we're gonna go ahead and do that, and I'm gonna show you an example of what it should look like. Let's walk over there. I have multiple trees. Thankfully, the ones around here are full of mulch. My whole orchard's full of mulch, but I am growing a smaller garden that's gonna be easier for me to manage for both my knee and back. And I have some fruit trees in containers that I am starting to grow again to start my fruit tree collection. And I'm gonna make sure that they're full of mulch so they can get well hydrated. Let's go. This is my Laura Bay, and unfortunately the chickens got in here and they were scratching all of the mulch out of it, so I need to add another layer to it, and that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to continue to cover it with this. It is on a drip system. I'm not gonna let the chickens come out for a minute, but I'm gonna put that in case they are out and they won't scratch up all of the top layer because it is already pretty dry. I'm gonna show you guys. Let me show you, I should have done this before, but let me show you how dry the topsoil is. You guys see that? That is very dry. You don't want your fruit trees to have this first layer dry. And this mulch is going to keep that first layer moist, and that's what you want. It's so important that you guys start doing this now. Otherwise, you guys are going to be stuck in the heat and overwhelmed with all the chores. Do it now while you can. There's many ways to mulch your garden. You can either do it with wood chips, but I've also found that using large rocks like this has helped my plants retain moisture. If I lift one of these, you're going to be able to see that there's moisture down there. I don't know if you guys can see that. There is a lot more moisture there than there is here. This plant was struggling. This is a bonus. This plant was struggling and the roots were just not getting attached to the soil. So I decided to put the rocks because even the mulch wasn't helping it much, and it has made a big difference. Look at this. This tree was practically dead. It was down to just a trunk and it's coming back. I'm doing a separate video about that. So let's continue. Those are two tips that you need to do in spring, let's move on to the third. I'm so proud of how this garden is turning out. It's starting to finally fill in all the gaps. It's looking green and lush, and part of the reason why it's being so affected is for the third reason I'm about to address. And the third thing that's very important that you should be doing now is setting up your irrigation timer. Okay, this irrigation timer actually waters my whole hillside right now. I know I'm wearing a beanie and a sweater, but we do have days that are warming up, and I know in a few weeks, maybe in a week or two, it's going to be really hot here because we already got a little glimpse of that. So it's now is the time to start upping your watering, because all the water that you got from the rain, at least here in Southern California, probably in Arizona and Texas and all the warm states, we did get rainwater. So it's going to slowly start to dry out. You want to maintain that moisture in your soil. So you want to up your timer. So if you're used to giving it only 2 minutes every whatever so days, now you're going to want to up it to maybe 5 minutes. Okay. Deep watering is better than more often watering, because you want all that water to go down to the root of where your trees are getting their water and their minerals and everything. So set up your timer. If for some reason, I want to give you guys a bonus information here. If you don't have a timer like this and you're hand watering, I'm going to give you guys the best solution for you guys to stop hand watering and for your garden to thrive and grow, because I'm actually growing a completely separate garden where there's no hose, there's no spigot. I can reach a hose, but a hose can reach there, but I gotta tell you, that is a lot of work, and I have a lot of plants over there, so that takes so much time. I'm like, these plants are gonna die. I have to find a solution, and I found a solution that I think everybody's gonna love. Let me go show you. While we're walking over there, I want you guys to look at my hillside garden. It is doing so good. I have only one little hole that's open for me to put one tree, and that's gonna complete that hillside garden. Watering, we all know that water is life, and that's what keeps everything growing. So set up your timers to give your plants a little bit more water. And I would do it not every day, every other day or every third day, depending on the weather in your area, but definitely up your watering. And here is my new container garden collection. I'm gonna back you guys up so you guys can kind of get an understanding of what it looks like. All right, so I'm gonna show you guys. This is a loquat. I have jasmines growing here in this privacy fence that my husband and I built, and we're growing it up the fence. We eventually want it to get filled up so it's kind of private. This is a Mexican key lime. I bought them so tiny, and I know that they're going to thrive and grow. They have mulch, so they're set up. Here's another Mexican key lime. They also have mulch, so they're set up. More jasmines. I don't know if you guys can see this far, but this is another loquat. I have my blueberry bush up here, and I have a loquat in the ground. So from there to here, there's no water. There's absolutely no spigot my hose can reach, but it's unrealistic for me to water during the summer. I can't be out here every day with all these plants. It would take me half a day, and I have better things to do. So let me show you how I am watering this whole area. You see that container? I bring my hose, let it get full of water. It has a solar timer, and the line is running all across. There's a drip here. You see the soil's moist. I come out here once a week to fill up the tank. When it gets hot, it'll probably be twice a week. It also has a timer. I should have showed you guys. You guys can set the time for every 24 hours, every 12 hours. And if you want it to drip for 5, 15, or 20 minutes. And there's much different ones in here. I'll put a link for you guys so you guys can get an idea, or you guys can go to my Amazon shop and I have them there. I did buy extra line so I can actually extend this. You can also use this in a raised bed, but it is running. Let me show you. Guys, see that? Everything has mulch. This is the jasmine. And as you guys can see here, there's a drip there. Going all across to my little baby Mexican key lime. Have mulch. This doesn't look like much, but this spring, this whole winter, the roots have been working hard to grow. I know it. And right now when spring hits, this little tree is going to blow up. Mark my words. Same thing with this one. That it goes all the way over there. The fourth and last thing I want you to do is to go around all your fruit trees, all your containers, whatever you worry about and you take care of and you're growing, go check to see. This one has drip, okay? I want to see how dry it is, because sometimes you may be watering, but the water is going around the root ball and not really penetrating to the roots, and you want to make sure that that's not happening, especially before the hot summer days come. So I'm going to come and check out the root, the soil here. I'm going to show you guys in a little bit. Look at how dry this looks. I'm going to water it and we're going to see if it's actually getting moisture or is it just going around. All right, what I'm going to want you to do is go to every pot, let it get completely full, and once the water drains, you're going to want see the water drain right here. You're going to want to see if the water is actually moist or is it still dry. Look at how dry that looks. That means this, look at how dry that is. I just watered this. So that means this pot needs deep, deep watering. So you're gonna wanna go to all your pots to set it up for everything to be moist, everything to have contact, because otherwise the water is going to a place of less resistance and it's going around the root ball instead of going into it. This is how deep you want your plant, your pot to get full of water. Come back and see if all the soil looks moist, and if it doesn't, keep doing that a couple times. But most importantly, if it doesn't, start massaging the soil. I know that sounds crazy, but when you massage it, you actually break the walls that it has created of like them being solid and hard, and now you're gonna allow the moisture to go down. So just massage the soil and that should do it. Here's my beloved Eureka Lemon growing aspalair, one of my very, very first fruit trees that I learned so much. This little beauty has died almost a couple times, and I've managed to bring it back to life. But this one, since it's so mature, it has a lot of roots. It dries out really easily. So I often come to check on the soil. Look at, too dry. It's the time to give it a good soaking and a good massage. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. If you notice, watch. I just water all of this, right? Once it drains, you're gonna see that it's still dry. And people get confused because they're like, I just watered it. I know that I watered it. Why is it dying? It can't be that it's because I haven't watered it. They don't think it's because of the watering, but it really is. And I'm gonna show you guys proof of that. You guys just saw me completely soak this. I'm going to scratch to see. Everything should be wet, right? Look at that. How is it possible that there's actual dry soil here? I just water this. How is this dry? Okay, this is something that a lot of people don't understand it's happening. It's very important that you do, okay? So when you are at the beginning of spring, actually whenever, but the beginning of spring is a good time to remember to do this. Go check on all your pots, give them a deep watering, check to see if the water actually penetrated to the soil. If it didn't, this is what you're gonna do. Friends, this is what you're gonna do. You have to inspect to see if that's happening, and if it is happening, you're gonna water it just like I did earlier. But this time you're going to put your gloves up, put your sleeves up, put your gloves if you want, but you're going to massage it, okay? You're gonna massage it because you want all this dry soil to get full contact with the water, and it's gonna allow the water to sit in these little pockets that you created in the soil, and it's gonna allow it to penetrate in different areas. Before that, it was actually just going around, probably around this way and down, instead of through the soil and to the roots. So if you have fruit trees in containers, I want to say that's one of the reasons why a lot of people can't keep their trees alive. And that is because the soil over the winter over dries. And since the tree doesn't need that much water over the winter, it's kind of like, not dormant because it doesn't lose all its leaves. It just kind of stops growing. It's just maintaining. So it doesn't need much. But right now when it's growing season and it's about to start being more active, it's going to need more. It's going to need more water. I'm probably going to add more soil to this pot, remove all of this mulch, add more soil, and add mulch again. I'm probably going to up pot this in the next year or two. It's still good. It's still thriving. But I'm definitely going to backfill it with soil and mulch. So that's very important. Massage. Look, it didn't get full that quick. It didn't drain that quick. I'm going to come back and show you how finally the soil is not going to be completely dry. It's going to be moist all around. The massage and deep watering method not only applies to the containers, it's also for your trees. Now, you're probably not going to want to massage it with your hands, so let me show you what I usually do. So I can be massaging this, but last year my daughter did a little crevices here. I don't know if you guys can see it. She did a little crevices here. So when the water drains, it's going to sit here in a little crevices, which means that it's going to soak down. And what I usually do too is you can get a little shovel, a stick, or anything, and just poke some crevices into the soil. So when the water gets contact with the soil, it doesn't go to just to the sides and down and out. You want it to go down into the soil. So if there's a tree that you notice that has been struggling, go ahead and do that. Go poke the soil and give it a deep watering. Let me show you. See this? I have the hose running. It's slowly going down with gravity, and there's a crevice here that's going to absorb a lot of the water, and this is all going to be full of water and allowed this tree to get hydrated, because it is obvious that it is dehydrated. I touched that little flower and it fell off. Remember, if the tree is dehydrated or struggling, the first thing that's going to go is going to be the last thing that came out, and in this case it's the flowers. That is how you want your trees to look. Bare from the bottom, trunk, and a beautiful canopy. Let me show you guys. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? I do want to point out really quick that last year I had tons of fruit and a lot of them fell, and a lot of them the squirrels got to them. And I'm noticing that there's little seedlings coming up. There's another one over here. I'm going to let them grow this year. Last year I tried to transplant them, and I think they were too young for the transplant. They weren't ready for it. So I think what I'm going to do this year is let them grow. And once they get a little bit more established, then I'm going to transplant them and see if I can get some baby trees out of those. Apricots, it's actually one of the fruits that you can grow from seeds. So I'm going to just do an experiment and see what happens. I watered this a few minutes ago. I just watered this whole area, and now that I gave it a massage, you're going to tell that the water is not draining as fast. That's because it's actually being absorbed what was dry in here, and it's draining a lot slower than the first time. I actually see bubbles all around, which means that I created crevices for the water to drain into different parts of this root ball and this pot, and that is what you want to see. I think that is one of the most important tips if you're growing fruit trees in containers. Anything in containers, usually once spring hits or summer, people are going to be like, my plant's dying, and you don't know why, and you think you're watering it, but you're really not. And I know I repeated that a couple times already, but that is how important it is for me to communicate this to you guys, because I want all of you guys to have fruit trees that are thriving and growing, and use this technique in anything that you want to grow and you want it to thrive. That's the conclusion of the 4 tips that I think you guys should be doing now, at the beginning of spring, middle of spring, hopefully before summer hits, so you're not out there doing that. And the heat, and doing things in the spring is just so much nicer because the temperatures are perfect. You can enjoy the nice weather that's coming our way, and you can enjoy your plants. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was informative. I'll see you guys in the comments. Have a blessed day. Don't forget to like and follow.